One of the most challenging things for a Guardian columnist and writer is to have a piece about something that's about to happen, or a historical event that's come up to an anniversary, or the release of a product, or a new movie out there, or just basically anything that's happened. And the challenge is to make that all about Brexit. Well, it's to put Brexit in there and something to do with fascism, white supremacy, or the far right. That's just what you have to do when you write for The Guardian. And when you write something about anything, there has to be some sort of, you have to just crowbar it in somehow. And literally, so, here you go. Here's some smart water. Here's some smart microfiltered water. They could, this is just sold out here in Thailand. This is, but they might launch it in the UK. Now, a Guardian writer will have to find a way to touch on Brexit and the far right when this water is released. They have to. They have to do it. It's a quota system. It's what they're told. I don't know why. I don't know, but they would have to do it. That's all they have to do. It's a tough gig, man, but I guarantee you this. They will do it. Against all odds, they will show themselves very capable. They will come through when they are required to. And this is a perfect example. So you have the D-Day celebrations coming up. But of course, David Ulusoga says Britain can't be reborn while we're still lost in fantasies about the past. Oh yes, David, please show us how to crowbar in something. It's not unpatriotic to point out flaws alongside making great achievements such as D-Day without succumbing to fake glory nostalgia. That's what he says. England in 2019. I want to be Thatcher dethroned. I want to be Churchill readying in the wings. Welcome to the age of Tribute Act politics. It's getting there. The policies that Boris Johnson and his rivals will soon unveil will be just as retro. Cover version rip-offs, warmed up Thatcherism, right-wing comfort food to appeal to the most extreme of their fellow MPs, the dregs of their dull face race, as Shelley might have called them. Ooh, Shelley, I don't care. But Johnson's Churchill light shtick and Theresa May's even less convincing Iron Lady routine. Was she doing an Iron Lady? Did you ever see her doing an Iron Lady routine? No. Are only vaguely viable because they tap into a fantasy version of British history that has contaminated visions of our conceivable future. Yes, this is where a man is going to shit all over Britain. John Lydon got it wrong in 1977 when the Sex Pistols warned there is no future in England's dreaming. He was out by 40 years. England's dream times show no sign of coming to an end, and Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland are being dragged under with us. The Brexiters. There we go. The fourth paragraph. Brexit is in the article. Well done, you. Congratulations. That's good. Keep it coming. Come on. Let's have some more of this. That's right. The Brexiters ask us to believe in Britain, but not the real Britain, with its flaws and contradictions and a history full of inglorious chapters as well as achievement. The Britain we must believe in is an unreal land of distorted memories and colonial amnesia. Well, of course it is. The Britain that was simultaneously the biggest empire on earth and the tiny underdog that stood alone in 1940, going on to defeat the Nazis and the only bit-part assistance from the US and the USSR. Alright, I don't think anyone's saying that we stood alone and we defeated, but we did fucking well. And the USSR were turncoats anyway in the first place, and America, the USSR were fucking sucking Hitler's dick before he turned on them, and the USA didn't do nothing until they got attacked. So yeah, we did stand alone for quite a long time. What thing to say? Britain was sometimes the biggest empire on earth and a tiny underdog that stood alone in 1940. No one's playing down the assistance, but also I think you should recognize of I think a lot of people forget that we were gonna throw in the towel very early on, and until Churchill stepped in and said, "Nah, we ain't doing that, bro. Nah, man, we're gonna kill them." I think you're the Dunkirk spirit. people born in the Blitz. I think you're like kind of shitting on that by making that sort of statement, to be honest with you. You know. And look, yes, Britain is a tiny nation that was constantly invaded by all sorts of empires, and every dog has its day. And I'm sorry, but boo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It was a different time back then, and the only thing you went about doing was invading countries and stealing their shit and telling them how to act. Romans did it to us, Vikings, Saxons, the Normans, may I go on? And after a while we had enough of it, and you know what? We may have started out as a bunch of animal fucking bog bin people, because that's what we were. We were just covered in shit. The Romans came over and said, oi, you heard about sanitation? You're pooing in your pants. What's wrong with you? Be Roman. It's better. It's less gross. And we became less gross. And when we became less gross, thank you, Romans, for making us ungross. We owe a lot to the Romans. We do. This is one of the best things that happened to us was them invading us. You can't deny that. You can't. Do you know about what Britain was like before the Romans came? It was disgusting. It was gross. And the Romans said, oi, clean your act up. You're disgusting. Sorry. I know that's culturally offensive, but you're fucking dirty pigs, the lot of you. Best thing that happened to us. And we decided, as a tiny... You got to look, it's a reflection of the times, man. Life, the history of... It's like people don't realise that the whole history of the world is very two-way, is very balanced. There's a lot of bad and a lot of good. And people were doing horrendous stuff, but that's like the way it was. It was a horrendous time. Like... Do you think when you lived in a time where like childbirth rates was, child mortality rates were fucking ridiculously low, where you had to have 12 kids because 8 of them would die and someone had to push the plough in the dirty, skunky field that smelt of poo, and disease was rife, and we used to chuck our shit out the windows. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, life was really harsh. People died all the time of ridiculous... You'd sneeze and you were going to die. Now you sneeze and you think, oh, another 10, I'll have an orgasm. Like, do you not understand how the world was? So do you think anyone gave a fuck about jumping in a ship and going off and saying, oh, hello you, yeah, we're coming in now to steal your shit and killing them all? No one gave a fuck, because life was cheap. Like, everyone died, everyone was dying, it was horrible, it was a horrible time. Do you not understand that? This is how the world worked for thousands of years. And now suddenly we think we're all above it now. Oh no, we're all better human beings. We don't do that kind of thing. Oh, please. You have too much faith in humanity and not enough understanding. Ridiculous. Think about it. The English, the Brits, let's go to India and Africa, right, where there's literally so many things that we don't know and have no knowledge of and don't understand, that will kill us. Right, rife with things that will murder us. Not just the locals. I think about fucking tigers, lions, poisonous snakes, spiders as big as your head. In a hot ass country, when we come from like mild Britain, what's he up into a hot as fuck country, burning to shit, sweating our pants off, and going, yes, we're going to take over this country. How many people are here? I don't know. There's about 7 to 1. What? Yeah, it's hot as piss. What? We'll probably die of diseases that we don't understand. What? Well, we're going to do it anyway. Because why not? We're going to do it. And did it. I mean, you've got to admire the balls of it. I mean, you're just like, really? You're going to do that? Yeah, I am. Yeah, fucking watch. Like, come on. Do not look at the world through the lenses of how your life is and how the world is supposed to be now and how civilized and caring we are. As if, like, nature by design, like human nature, nature itself, Mother Nature, is violent and unforgiving, and it doesn't give a fuck about what you do. Like, it doesn't give a fuck about you. That is nature. Nature is bred from pain, struggle, and violent reactions. The Big Bang, for goodness sake. It was an explosion that created life. A fucking bomb. Like, is that not enough to tell you that, like, yeah, life is fucked? It's not, and it's not supposed to be a bed of roses and all love and hugs and kissy poos before Betty buys. Okay, so shut up. This week's D-Day commemorations will, I fear, oh, he's scared, help reinforce the idea that it was we what won it. Alright, well done with the language there. Further marginalising the history of the Russians on the Eastern Front, who faced the bulk of Hitler's forces, the fantasy that Britain built an empire yet showed nothing but paternal care to the people whose lands it invaded and bodies it harvested. And by dint of that history, they suggest we are demonstrably exceptional people, not subject to the political and economic realities that limit the options of other more ordinary nations. Yeah, it is. I'm going to say it. It is. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. You look at people that lived through the war, right? And that's why they think Britain can do it, because, my God, it was a terrible time. 10 million people dead. Do you not know how bad it was? Like, what? And you wonder why people have this spirit of saying, well, if we can get through that, surely we can get through a bit of Brexit. Do you not understand that mentality? That's how they're thinking. That's what it is. That's why older people would have voted more to leave, because they know this, right? They're like, come on, stop being silly. What's particularly unusual about all this is that it appeals to millions who are too young to have witnessed the golden age, whose passing they so lament. Most of those fantasising about Empire 2.0, really, no one's fantasising about a new British Empire, you nutjob, or calling upon us to recover our lost buccaneering spirit, were children during the Second World War and saw only the tail end of Empire. They might talk misty-eyed about Britain's lost power and the special relationships we once had with nations that happily kicked us out. But for them, the last days of the Raj are not a distant memory, but a local curry house. Oh, well done. If you want someone to call you a traitor or accuse you of hating Britain, try suggesting that Britain is a normal nation or that our history is remarkable but not exceptional. If you're feeling really thick-skinned, you could also mention slavery or the violence of empire. No, do you know what? No one cares. Yes, everyone knows that we had look, everyone knows we had a hand in slavery. Everyone had slaves. We were enslaved ourselves. Everyone's been a slave and everyone sold slaves. Everybody. And throughout all history, everyone did it. That's why no one gives a fuck. And no one cares. And people should just stop caring. Do you know what you should just say? I don't care. Oh, you raped and pillaged our lands and you colonised us. I say, yeah, and we'll do it again. Shut your mouth. Why not? I've had enough of people just going on about it. It's like as if suddenly history is just suddenly being discovered recently. It's like everyone knew this, didn't they? And if you didn't, what's the matter with you? Thinking, oh well, there's whitewashing history. It's like, what? It's like, of course, it was a different time. Do you not get it? It was a different time. So who cares? I don't care. I don't care what happened. That was done by people I've never met. It has nothing to do with me. No one's there going, saying, yes, well, what about all the slavery and colonisation? Going, well, yeah, of course, it was a horrible time. The time was rough, and we were rough with it. Like, product of your environment. Have you ever heard that term? You're a product of your environment. You're a product of your time. You could point out that other nations, the Dutch for example, have managed to come to terms with the fact that their golden age kind of petered out. So did us. So there you go. The Netherlands is far from perfect, but its people are not dreaming of recovering but the buccaneering spirit they too once possessed. This would suggest that it's possible to have a heyday and then move on, grow up and get on with your life. I don't think anyone's craving a new empire, are they? That's not the Great Britain people are talking about. It's the fucking empire. It was some imperialist tyrant. No one wants to be some massive imperialist tyrants no more. Oh, I miss the days when we were tyrants of the world. I don't think anyone really wants that again. I don't think that's what people want. The period from Trafalgar to 1914, during which the British exerted naval and economic dominance over the world, was a consequence of what Enoch Powell, the spiritual father of UKIP, recognised as a brief conjunction of cheap and invincible sea power with industrial potential. Dominance is not our manifest destiny, nor our natural place in the world. Yet to even suggest this in England 2019 is to provoke fury. Is it? No one gives a fuck. No one cares. The fog of historical amnesia also hangs heavily over post-war history. Beyond austerity, Version 1.0, the NHS, Suez, and you've never had it so good. Not much else seems to come to mind. and over the past 3 years it has looked at times that we're risking of flunking maths as well as getting a D for history. Now I think you're going to get a D for your perception of history. Thus, the people's vote is routinely described as a demand for a second referendum. This would not wash in a country in touch with its history. The referendum David Cameron dragged us into in 2016 was a second referendum. The first was the referendum of 1975. That too was an in-out referendum and not, as often misremembered, a vote to join the EEC. That happened in 1973. The question in 1975, and it was in 2016, was to leave or remain. Alright, so they had another one and decided to leave. The politicians, but now you want another one 2 years later. Shut up. The politicians who now fume that a second referendum would betray the will of the people have spent the past 40 years campaigning for a referendum to ignore the will the people expressed in 1975. That was 1975, you donut. That was 40 years ago. It's a completely different time. You don't understand history. That history is in the past. What are you talking about? You think nothing changed in 40 years? Well, Remain got 17.3 million votes. The England of 2019 is a nation trapped in a quantum Brexit verse in which 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 and a third referendum is a second vote. Shut up, bruv. You need to shut up. We had a referendum 40 years ago and you're saying, what are you even saying? What are you actually saying? So 40 years ago, well, we decided to remain 40 years ago and that's the way it is. So they had another referendum 40 years later. The whole thing is they're talking about reversing a referendum. It's not having another referendum. It's reversing it, isn't it? That's what people want. They want to reverse it. That's what it's all been about. If on the 31st of October 2019 the fanatics and the Faragists win and we crash out of the EU, that moment when the borders close and the markets open and the truth sinks in will not be a Britain's Independence Day. A hard Brexit would be so damaging to the true interests of the UK that what might follow, if we are lucky, is a great unmasking, not just of the political fantasists and chancers who peddle the great Brexit swindle, but of the historical delusion that empowered them. The most extreme among the Brexiteers are convinced they can ride the chaos and deploy the shock doctrine to remake the nation in their ideological image. But awoken from our dream times by the smelling salts of economic reality, Britain might go the other way and begin that process that would see us start to decolonize our history and our self-image. Through such a process, Britain would, in effect, become the last country to leave the British Empire. No matter what happens at Halloween, the dangers of England's dreaming are surely now clear and manifest. Oh, he's a historian and broadcaster. You're a historian, but you don't seem to understand that history is history, and it's a product of your times. No one's no one's harking back to the times of the Empire. People are just saying about something that is distinctly British about going, just suck it up and get on with it. That is what it's all about. That's what you're taught. You said, alright, just the stiff upper lip means something. Do you know why it means something? You don't cry about it. You just get on with it. And that's the attitude of many great countries as well. We're just going to get on with this. We'll be alright, we'll get on with it. Instead of all this, talk about doom-mongering. You could, Project Fear. This is bizarre how they call, this is so bizarre to me. Like I said, I don't care. Remain or leave. I don't give a fuck. I just couldn't care less. I just find it bizarre how the love for the EU is just really cult-like and scary. It's just very odd. It's very odd to me. That's why I think leave is a better idea, because it's cult-like and really creepy. It's just creepy. And they say how the people that wanted to leave were fear-mongering, but I've never seen such fear-mongering that's come from the other side, like from the Remain side. It's just the next level fear-mongering and saying, oh, they want to hark back to a false sense of what the empire was. It's like, what are you even talking about? They just don't like Europe, you nut job. And somehow you made D-Day seem like it's going to make Brexiters. What? No, D-Day's it's not a celebration. It's not just a celebration of our achievements as an empire. It's to commemorate the fucking dead. People from my family who died defending this country against all odds. That's what it's about. It's about remembering the fucking dead. Anyone, if you want to say, oh, it's getting there, it's harking back to the empire and people are rose-tinted glasses and perception of the empire. It's like, bruv, shut up, don't make a day of commemorance be about something to do with Brexit. Honest to God, you need to pipe down, my son. Honestly. You see what I'm saying? Can't write an article about anything, and don't barely even talk about D-Day. You know what I'm saying? Can't have nice things anymore, can we? You know. I fear it will help reinforce the idea that we was what won it. That's not what it's all about. And and as a historian, you need to look at it a bit closer and say, you know, like fucking hell, just look at it from just actually think about it, about what it took and the toll on the, like, we did not crumble. This is what people's point is. We did not crumble under such immense pressure and against so many odds. We did not crumble, and we didn't cry about it. I think that's the main thing. We didn't fucking cry about it, and that is what people say is missing, and I totally get that. I get that when old as fuck people are going, well, yeah, what are you crying for? It's like, I get it. Why can't you get it? They're saying, oh, it's not people going, oh, we're the greatest empire on planet Earth and we made everyone talk good. No one gives a fuck about that. No one cares. It's a totally different era. That's why we're the last empire. The age of that kind of empire is gone. It was a whole period of time that went on for thousands of years. Do you not know this? You know? The fantasy that Britain built an empire yet showed nothing but paternal, like, what? We're an exceptional people. Why can't a nation think they're exceptional in a certain way? Surely. Do you see what I'm saying? There's no pride. There's just no pride. You know what I'm saying? I'm not some tub thumping national, you know, like, oh, I love being British, but come on, man. There's certain things about being British where you just go, there's no one quite like us. And it's a fact, good and bad. You know, I should celebrate it all. I celebrate perfections and imperfections. That's right, because I'm a well-balanced individual.